Let's go ahead and listen to discussing Israel's war crime in Gaza exposed. I mean, they've been doing this for generations, for decades. Okay, generation. They've been decimating the Palestinian because they know that the Palestinian are not being backed up by a superpower. They know that the Palestinian do not have the arsenal that they have. They know this thing. They're not stupid. So Palestinians have pretty much become a dummy, a playground for them. The book that I just showed you, there was line in there where Stein is like Palestinian people to them is like somebody who has a magnifying glass, and then there's a bunch of ants running around, and then they're burning these ants. That's how they perceive the Palestinian as the ant, and they're the one holding the magnifying glass. I gotta start, highlighting this quote and just putting it on here so that way you guys can get it. But the book that I'm reading, right, the Gaza book that I just showed you guys, it tells you everything you need to know. It's a 700-page book. So if you're not a reader, well, good luck.
A new investigation by Al Jazeera has revealed how Israel used weapons that completely evaporated the bodies of Palestinians in Gaza. Now, Israel
White phosphorus. Yeah, I forgot to say that. They've been using that for decades as well.
has committed so many war crimes in Gaza that it's hard to imagine how a particular type of war crime could stand out. Unfortunately, however, this seems to be the case. This war crime is just so awful that it baffles the mind. In short, Israel used thermal and thermobaric weapons, otherwise known as aerosol vacuum bombs, to incinerate Palestinians. And they
I did not know about that one. Interesting. FYI, white phosphorus burn about 1500 degrees, about 800 Celsius.
did this repeatedly in places like children's schools where civilians were taking shelter. These weapons are banned internationally because of its destructive effect and the damage it does to unintended targets nearby. Now, the entire concept of international law controlling which type of weapons you can use seems silly when you think about it, because it's essentially telling an army engaged in killing how they are allowed to kill. But the reason why these weapons are banned is because they are far less precise. You see, international law at the very least attempts to reduce the amount of innocent people being murdered during warfare.
And this is also one thing that I've been putting a lot of emphasis on. The bombs that are being dropped on Palestinian, understand that Iran is also studying these bombs and they're trying to understand how to counterattack these bombs. This is why I'm completely against the war, America versus Iran, is simply because Americans are just like literally like they're just gonna be lined up to be butchered. Understand that. Iran is in a very, very good strategic area in the world. They're surrounded by mountain and they have ballistic missiles.
Certain weapons are banned because they are far less precise and produce so many casualties. Thermobaric weapons are banned because they release a cloud of explosives that then uses the atmospheric oxygen to ignite. This produces two devastating effects. One is that it produces intense heat, more than half the heat on the surface of the sun, which is far hotter than traditional explosives. And two, it sucks the oxygen out of the air. So a thermobaric weapon will produce 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which will immediately evaporate a human body. If you're nearby and you happen to survive the blast, you will probably suffocate to death because the explosion is a vacuum that sucks all the oxygen out of the area to ignite the blast.
A thermobaric weapon, also called an aerosol bomb, a vacuum bomb, or a fuel air explosive, refers to a type of explosive that uses oxygen from the surrounding air to generate a high temperature explosion. The fuel air explosive is one of the best known types of thermobaric weapons. This weapon sucks in oxygen from the surrounding air to generate a high temperature explosion. It is capable of producing a blast wave of a significantly longer duration than that of a conventional explosion, and is capable of pressuring human bodies and crushing internal organs.
They work in two steps. A charge contained in a warhead explodes. Made of gas, liquid, or finely pulverized explosives, it forms an aerosol cloud. A second explosive charge ignites that cloud, which creates a fireball reaching a temperature of 3,000 degrees. The impact also creates a huge shockwave. Oxygen in the surrounding air is sucked in, generating a vacuum and a huge overpressure 1.5 to 2 times higher than the overpressure caused by conventional explosives.
And honestly, I thought the white phosphorus was bad. Every single time you think these people can reach a level of just evil, somehow, some way, they find ways to do it. It might like it is it's truly fascinating how these people think. You get what I'm saying? Like I would never assume that somebody will come up with such an idea to drop a bomb on a bunch of indefense people who cannot defend themselves. I mean, if this was being used against a strong army such as Russia or China, I can understand that. But these are Palestinians. How the fuck can you use this type of bomb and then turn around and say, oh, we're defending ourselves, or we're going after the T's, or we're going after the H? We're not trying to commit a genocide. We're not going after innocent people. We're not killing civilians. And yet, when you look at the history of the death toll in Palestine from 1948 all the way to today, look at graph. Death of Palestinian versus death of Israelis. Palestinians way out there when you look at the graph. And then Israelis, little bit, 100 people die. And then compared to the Palestinians, over 50,000, over what, 60,000. Palestinians are animals to these people. They don't give a shit. They don't care about them. I really recommend you to read that book because it really opened up my eyes. And
This is what causes fatal injuries to all living beings around. In the immediate surroundings, bodies are literally pulverized. A little further away, the blast causes ruptured eardrums, severe concussions, rupture of internal organs, and blindness.
Thermobaric weapons were originally developed by the Nazis in World War II, but first used by the US in Vietnam. They can produce more heat and overpressure than conventional bombs by exploding a vapor in the blast zone. The deadly cloud produced after the explosion can reach temperatures of up to 3,000 degrees Celsius and can burn through steel and concrete. And if it comes into contact with human flesh, it can melt through right down to the bone.
This is why it is banned. Israel was dropping these weapons onto schools and shelters on a regular basis, however. According to the Al Jazeera Arabic investigation titled The Rest of the Story, civil defense teams in Gaza have documented 2,842 Palestinians who have evaporated since the war began in October 2023, leaving behind no remains other than blood, spray, or small fragments of flesh. On August 10, 2024, Yasmin Mahani walked through the smoking ruins of El Tabin School in Gaza, searching for her son Saad. She found her husband screaming, but of Saad there was no trace. I went into the mosque and found myself stepping on flesh and blood, Mahani told Al Jazeera Arabic for an investigation that aired on Monday. She searched hospitals and morgues for days. We found nothing of Saad, not even a body to bury. That was the hardest part. Mahani is one of thousands of Palestinians whose loved ones have simply vanished during Israel's genocidal war on Gaza, which has killed more than 72,000 people. The figure of 2,842 is not an estimate, but the result of grim forensic accounting by Gaza's civil defense. Spokesperson Mahmoud Basal explained to Al Jazeera that teams use a method of elimination at strike sites. We enter a targeted home and cross-reference the known number of occupants with the bodies recovered. If a family tells us there were 5 people inside and we only recover 3 intact bodies, we treat the 2 remaining as evaporated. Only after an exhaustive search yields nothing but biological traces, blood spray on walls, or small fragments like scalps, he added. The investigation detailed how specific chemical compositions in Israeli munitions turn human bodies into ash within seconds. Vasily Fatigurov, a Russian military expert, explained that thermobaric weapons do not just kill, they obliterate matter. Unlike conventional explosives, these weapons disperse a cloud of fuel that ignites to create an enormous fireball and a vacuum effect. To prolong the burning time, powders of aluminum, magnesium, and titanium are added to the chemical mixture. This raises the temperature of the explosion to between 2,500 and 3,000 degrees Celsius, or 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit to 5,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Dr. Munir El-Bursh, a director general of the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza, explained the biological impact of such extreme heat on the human body, which is composed of roughly 80% water. The boiling point of water water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, El Borsch said. When a body is exposed to energy exceeding 3,000 degrees, combined with massive pressure and oxidation, the fluids boil instantly. The tissues vaporize and turn to ash. It is chemically inevitable. Despite the International Court of Justice issuing provisional measures against Israel in January of 2024, ordering it to prevent acts of genocide, and an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court issued against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in November, the killing intensified. For Rafiq Bedran, who lost 4 children in the Burej refugee camp during the war, these technical definitions mean little. He was only able to recover small parts of his children's body to bury. 4 of my children just evaporated, Bedran said, holding back tears. I looked for them 1,000,000 times. Not a piece was left. Where did they go? There were so many crimes committed during the genocide. We are only scratching the surface. It could be many years before all of the horrific crimes are revealed, and some we may never learn of, as Israel is racing to demolish the rest of Gaza and cover up their crimes. The Western media class has completely failed humanity by not forcing themselves into Gaza to cover these crimes before evidence of them disappear forever. None of this comes as a surprise, given Israel's control over the US, its political class, its media. It is still shocking, however, that the world allowed a crime of this magnitude to take place in the 21st century, and the people of Gaza continue to suffer despite the so-called ceasefire. Food and supplies barely trickle in as the world no longer pays attention to the siege and blockade of Gaza. So it is up to us to keep raising awareness about the plight of the Palestinian people and expose Israel's crimes and its influence over American politics every opportunity we get. It is the bare minimum that we can do. If you want to read the Al Jazeera investigation, I have linked it in the description of this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I don't know what to say to it. I mean, I'm not really, I'm surprised, but simultaneously, I'm not. These people, it's like their main goal is to find ways to just terrorize. That, like, it's like that's what the goal is. Try to inflict as much damage as humanly possible. And this is all with the help of the United States. These are the same people who are saying that they want to liberate the Iranians. These are the same people who are saying that they care about us. How can any human being see what is going on? Know what's going on? Because you have to understand that the Congress, government, these people are far more informed than we are. Benjamin Netanyahu is making his way here now. He doesn't come for no reason. They know what kind of bomb they're sending. They're not stupid. I mean, again, you know what? I don't even know what to say. If you made it this far, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys up in other videos.